Welcome to the People Not Titles podcast. I am the host, Steve Kempf. Over the course of the past 2 years, we have interviewed dozens of real estate professionals, entrepreneurs, and top salespeople on our podcast. Each of them have their own unique stories of going from point A to point B and reaching a level of success that is really quite impressive. Our goal and hope in all of this is to give voice to their stories and at the same time inspire our listeners and viewers, you, on your road to your own successes. For some of our guests, the starting point was not optimal, nor was it privileged. I think of Andreas Lozano and how he started his real estate career while driving an Uber. He'd sleep in his car after he'd do his driving and make a few bucks, and then he would go show homes on the weekends, trying to put food on the table and at the same time trying to launch a career. I think of Baxter Rodriguez, who after enduring a separation, had kids to raise and was forced as a single mother to provide for her family. So she started doing some small flip homes in real estate and eventually realized that she had quite a knack at it and wound up becoming and building just a huge real estate portfolio, and then becoming one of the premier inspection companies, being the owner of one of the premier inspection companies in Chicagoland. So for some of our guests, their rise was slow and methodical, and for others, they caught an early break and never looked back. But even then, they met moments of doubt, they met moments of failure, they met obstacles that they had to overcome. As an extension of our interviews of the phenomenal professionals in our real estate community, I'm inspired to mine some of the attributes that successful people have in common and talk about it just a little bit more, in the hope of affirming these wonderful traits, as well as inspiring you to make these traits a great part of your process and thus a great part of your success. So that leads us to the first trait I want to cover, which is courage. Courage is one of the cornerstone attributes of success and an essential element for anyone who wants to accomplish anything above and beyond the norm. Aristotle said, courage is the first of human qualities because it is the quality which guarantees all the others. The Oxford Dictionary defines courage this way: the ability to do something that frightens one. And then they also describe it as strength in the face of pain or grief. I love that. Webster's defines courage as mental or moral strength to venture, to persevere, and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. In the Bible, we're often encouraged, fear not, fear not, fear not. So fear is a real part of our reality. The truth of the matter is, if you set out to become more than you are and more than you currently are experiencing, it will require courage. Today, we will talk about some of the moments that courage might need to be summoned on your path to success and what it really looks like in real life. So if you're a little bit like the lion in the Wizard of Oz and you feel like you might need an extra helping of courage, the good news is you don't need to follow the yellow brick road. We will give you some simple steps that you might consider to get and to build courage in your own life. Many of you who are listening probably already have exhibited it in the past and are currently exhibiting it every single day in your pursuits of your own greatness. Some of you might not have exercised the courage muscle in a little while and just need a primer or a kickstart to get off of square one again. So, for what do we use this courage, you might be asking? Well, for some, we call up courage to become better than we already are at something specific. Perhaps you're an athlete, a salesperson, a husband, wife, mother, father, whatever. And you have the courage to admit, I'm not where I want to be. I'm not as proficient. I'm not as skilled. I'm not sure I know what I'm doing, and I'd like to get better. Maybe your state of life is just not where you want it to be. Well, it takes great courage to dream of what might be and then to make a plan and set out to do it. I think of Michael LaFido, one of the podcast interviews we did last year. He was a teacher in Glen Ellen with a side hustle of power spraying decks. He decided to try his hand at real estate part-time and dreamed of taking it to the next level. And he did. He is now one of the nation's top producers in real estate, both luxury and other price points. And he is also a luxury real estate coach and just a real estate coach in general who has his own luxury designation, which is nationally and now internationally renowned. And just recently, he was voted one of the top 5 coaches in the country by Agent Magazine. So it takes great courage to get started, and it takes great courage to take the first baby steps. Whenever you begin something, it's clumsy, it's awkward, and the naysayers start to rise up. It takes courage to start. What goes along with that, with starting, by the way, is appearing foolish. The gap between starting and becoming good is painful, filled with humbling experiences. You make tons of mistakes, the discomfort of not knowing what you're doing. It takes courage to fight through all of that. It also takes courage to stick your head up above the crowd and risk getting bopped like a whack-a-mole. Whenever you try to break away to do something different and become more, you now become a target. We've all heard the story of the crab in the bucket. One crab tries to crawl out of the bucket, and others immediately try to grab and tug the other crab to keep him in the bucket. It takes courage to separate from the pack and do whatever others might not be willing to do. And by the way, if you're one of the crabs in the bucket, don't grab the crab that's trying to crawl out. Follow him out. Cheer him on. That's what we want to be for each other, okay? It takes great courage to commit to daily practices and start new habits without knowing for sure whether anything good will come of it. To fight through those, am I wasting my time kind of thoughts and feelings? I've had tons of those my whole career, my whole business life, my whole life. I've wondered, am I wasting my time? And then all of a sudden you see a glimmer of hope, a glimmer of success. Thoughts and feelings like that are natural for those who venture out towards success. They all face it. And to lower your head and to do it for a period of time, not knowing if it's going to work out, takes courage. I remember starting my sales career and calling out of the phone book. I know I'm dating myself a little bit here, having no idea if I'm ever going to make a sale. And all of a sudden, boom, you make your first sale and you realize, wow, this actually works. And then you start building a process. I remember my first presentation, my first time asking the order, my first rejection. When I became a business owner, I remember hiring my first ever employee, committing to pay them whether I profited or not. My knees were knocking much of the time because it was new, it was unfamiliar, and we become afraid of the unknown, okay? But the unknown is where the magic happens if you're moving forward. Once you've decided on a direction, it takes courage to focus on getting good and then getting great at your craft. Most of the time you are getting good and becoming, most of the time of your getting good and you're becoming great is spent in the shadows. It's quiet. There's no recognition. There's very few results and small rewards. It reminds me of the story of the fern and the Chinese bamboo. Once upon a time, there was a man who was disappointed with his life. He worked very hard all day and put in much effort, but he always faced failure. The man felt so frustrated, so one day he left everything and exiled himself to the forest. He met a hermit there. Seeing the frustrated man, the hermit asked him why he was living in the woods. The man told the hermit about his failure and asked, "Please tell me one reason why I should not give up on my sad life." Now, have you ever gotten to that point where you've asked yourself, why shouldn't I just give up? Why shouldn't I quit? We've all been there, right? Well, the hermit told the man the Chinese bamboo story. He showed the man 2 plants and asked, "Do you see the 2 plants there? The fern and the Chinese bamboo?" The man nodded, yes. Hermit then told him that he had planted the seeds of both the plants together. He said, I took proper care of both plants. I gave them required food. I gave them the water. I exposed them to sunlight and fertilizer. But the fern grew quickly within a short period of time, but the bamboo did not. The man was confused and asked the hermit, why was it so? The hermit continued, I nurtured the Chinese bamboo for 4 years, but nothing happened. There was no sign of growth, but I did not give up on the tree and continued to nurture it. In the 5th year, the Chinese bamboo grew almost 90 feet tall within 2 months. Hearing this, the man became stunned. He asked the hermit, so nothing happened in the bamboo tree seed for the first 4 years, but it grew to a shocking height only in a few months? How is this possible? The hermit laughed and explained to the man that the little bamboo tree was using all the nourishment to grow below the soil and to develop its strong root system that would help it grow tremendously tall. The Chinese bamboo developed a strong foundation to help sustain itself in the later years. The hermit then asked the man, do you now understand why you should not give up on your life? The man finally learned his lesson, that all his struggles were building his foundation for a better life. He thanked the hermit and left the forest to start his life afresh and to fulfill his dreams. It takes courage to invest in something, especially something that takes a long time to show substantial results. And if you're in that fight, I applaud you. You know, for some, it's the quiet hours of study to get better in college or in just any kind of education to better yourself. For others, it's the quiet hours on the practice field of sport and the practice field of life, honing your craft. For some, it's the investment of energy, of work, doing perhaps menial tasks that are maybe you feel beneath you, which is required in a startup type of situation. It takes courage to start, and I applaud you if you started and if you're ready to get started. It takes courage to get out of your comfort zone. Anything new is uncomfortable. Anything difficult is uncomfortable. It takes courage to go there. To get better than you are takes courage. It takes courage to admit, I'm not where I want to be, and I'm willing to become more. Because most people have settled in. You know, they have this statement that says, most people die when they're 25 years old. We just bury them when they're 80. And that is true for so many people. Don't be one of those people. It takes courage to live in a state of growth mode where being uncomfortable is a regular thing. It takes courage to write a new story for yourself. Perhaps you were told you could only be X, or there's limitations. How many times have we heard of certain people? You aren't ever going to walk again. You aren't going to run again. You aren't a good athlete. Michael Jordan getting cut his sophomore year, and on the story goes. But yet they go on to become, instead of settling for X, what everyone said they can become, they go on to become the Y. Okay. It takes courage to take off the old garments and try on the new armor and begin the fight towards something new. I'll let you in on a little secret. All successful people experience fear and a crisis of belief, but their courage takes them through it to the next level. Don't fool yourself by thinking, I am different. I'm afraid. That's what's going to stop me. Everyone is afraid, but some fight through it and get to the top anyway. See, courage, like a muscle, can be developed. For many, what was once a fearful situation or activity becomes normal through practice and habit. Courage, when applied towards fearful situations, creates confidence. You ever see a confident person? You know why they're confident? Because they faced their fears with courage, did the task, and now they've developed confidence for themselves. If you would like to become anything at all in the way of a success, it'll require courage. So here are some suggestions for you to develop some courage in your life. So number one, acknowledge your fear. It's okay to say, I'm nervous for this interview. I'm afraid to make my first few calls. This long swim is making me nervous. There's a book once written, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Don't be ashamed of your fear. Acknowledge it. Say hello to it. Tip your hat to it. Give it a smile and get to work. Number 2, use fear as a compass. Don't dismiss the things you fear. Study them. Let them get your attention. Embrace them. Sometimes fear points you in the direction you should go. Number 3, confront fear. Take the fearful situation head on. You know, when my day begins, I love to make a list of some of the really important stuff I got to get done during the day. And you know what? I take the one that I fear the most to do, the tough conversation, the hard call, or whatever it is. And I want to now, before I used to avoid it and it used to lop over the next day, the next day, the next day. But guess what? Now it's on the top of my list and it's the first thing I do. Confront your fears. Here's another one. Number 4, positive self-talk. You have to be your own best cheerleader. Watch your conversations with yourself. Most of us have a broken soundtrack called our self-talk that we're constantly playing in our heads. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. And it's not helping. New affirmations repeated daily, expressing and journaling, gratitude, and new positive soundtracks can be a game changer for you. It is something worth investing time, energy, and effort. Reprogram yourself. Number 5, get comfortable being uncomfortable. The most comfortable people on the planet rarely accomplish anything substantial. So if you're comfortable, it's because you aren't accomplishing much. Dale Carnegie says, do the thing you fear to do and keep doing it. And that will be the quickest and surest way to conquer that fear. Number 6, make being brave a habit. Rather than wishing that these fearful situations would just go away, rise up and meet the challenge that life presents. In fact, it may be that the closer to the edge of growth that you are, the more fearful things appear. Get used to it. Get comfortable. New things are scary. The more new and unfamiliar you are seeing, the more ground you are taking. Momentum is messy. It's okay. 7, find a mentor or a coach who is not afraid to push you and who has crossed the paths that you are still looking to cross. They survived and so will you. If you're going to take a journey out to the West Coast, right, and you're going to go whatever way, if you're going to, just venture out, walk all the way out there, if you walked all by yourself, you'd be like, what's this? What's that? Oh my gosh, I have never seen this before. But if you walk with a guide, someone who's been there and can point things out to you and say, don't worry about that. Don't be afraid. It's so much easier. Find yourself a mentor. Number 8, reflect on the story of courageous individuals. I remember reading books about Sam Walton of Walmart fame and the hustling he did from operating his local dime store to building an empire, and reading about Lewis and Clark. And we were just talking about the venturing out West. Read the book, I think it's Beyond Courage or whatever it is, reading the book of the founding fathers, and on we go. Various, salespeople, there's all kinds of great books written today about courageous individuals just like you and me who accomplished amazing things. Podcasts, there's so much available. Look for, here's number 9, look for courageous people all around you. Okay. When you start to say, I'm going to keep my eye open for people behaving courageously, all of a sudden they start to pop up everywhere. I go to the gym and see courageous people there for the first time. Maybe they're a little out of shape, but maybe they're uncomfortable with the situation and all that. But guess what? They get to it. They get on the treadmill. They start pumping the weights. They start doing it. And all of a sudden you see them a year later, confident, showing up, saying hello to people, all that. I don't even have to leave my neighborhood, and I see this wonderful, courageous couple with a seriously handicapped child bravely facing life with great joy. So you get the picture. Look for bravery, look for courage, and you will see it. Finally, number 10, not finally, I have one more after this. But number 10, look for it in yourself and call it out when you need it. When you head into situations where fear rises up, ask yourself, what would a courageous person do in this situation? Do you have a difficult conversation today? Ask yourself, how would a brave person handle this? Do you have some prospecting to do maybe? Guess what? Ask yourself, how would a courageous person approach this? Do you have to face some hard truths, maybe make some tough decisions? Ask, what would a brave person do right now? Now, I didn't say what would a reckless person do. Okay, you have to use your noodle. You should be measured, but you should also be brave. Be courageous. There's a saying that I have in my household when we face a tough situation, and it's called DBAP, DBAP, DBAP. Don't be a pansy. We just say it, DBAP. Oh, Dad, it's too cold out there to go for a run. DBAP, don't be a pansy. Let's go. Okay. Number 11, when the day is done, look back on it and congratulate yourself for the brave moments you had. Did you make that call? Did you have that talk? Did you face the hard truth, make the tough call, make the tough decision? Encourage yourself. Say, way to go. You handled that with courage. You're a warrior, buddy. Write it down. Mark it down. I was brave today. Did you shy away from some situations, though, when you reflect back on the day? That's okay. You know what? When I have a big one that I need to overcome, what helps me to get through it is I call someone and say, hey, listen, I'm really struggling with this decision. It's bringing some fear in me. Can you pray for me? Can you help me here? And all of a sudden, me just expressing that allows some of that fearful energy to go away. And now I'm ready to attack it. So tell someone about it and they can hold you accountable to getting the job done. So finally, remember, everyone is afraid. Everyone. Successful people, people who achieve, people who take the hill, people who move to the next height, fight the fear and get the job done, and they do it with courage. Courage is vital for your journey. Make sure you pack plenty for yours. This is Steve Kempf with the People Not Titles podcast.